Welcome to another Friday night. This is On Fire Family, and this is Happy Hour.
From the Bahamas.
Cheers.
Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. Hoist the mainsail, here I come. Ain't no room on board for the ensign sea. You're my witness, I'm your mutiny.
So from Staniel Key, we started making our way to all these cool little islands and spots up the Exumas. And our first stop was Shroud Key. Shroud Key was absolutely awesome. We
Second
had
best day.
a buddy boat with kid aboard that we encountered there in Staniel Key, and so we kind of loopfrogged with on our way up the islands. Shroud Key was an awesome stop. They have a lazy river where we took the dinghy out and kind of wound our way
Through the mangroves, and there's turtles, and there's nurse sharks, and
yeah, it was beautiful.
so we did that the first night.
And then the next morning we get up and we did that half of that again out to the washing machine. So here we are at Shroud Key, and this is the famous washing machine. We brought the tender over, and through these canals that go through the mangroves here in the middle of this island. We're the only ones here this morning, which is killer. It's a little rainy and stormy today, but that has not impaired our sense of adventure. So we're gonna hop in to the washing machine and see what this whirlpool does to us. Let's do it. So then the current brings you right back to this beach, and you can walk around and go again. The surf kind of brings you back into the same spot that you started. You hop out and you walk on the other side of this rock, and you hop back in, you do it again. So
over and over, all of us.
Kind of
I adored it.
Whirlpool of going around and around. We climbed the hill there, very short hike and flip-flops up to the top of Camp Driftwood to get us a vantage point over Shroud Key.
And where the U.S. used to spy on
drug planes.
Drug planes.
Yeah. That came and some crashed, which makes some awesome snorkeling. So then we packed it up and further onward up the Exumas. The next stop was Norman Key. We were starting to experience some wind and waves, and so we wanted to duck in, and it wasn't the very best spot that we have
anchorage was not
anchored
that good.
Because of the conditions that we were experiencing that night. But we didn't have a lot of choice because of the time of day. We got a late start from Shroud because of the fun we were having, and we pulled in there thinking it would be very protected and awesome, and it was not as much. We dropped the hook on the big boat, we launched the dinghy, the kids and I went over and we snorkeled Pablo Escobar's drug plane that crashed right there in the
drug plane number 3.
Yeah, Norman's Key. Time to go snorkeling. This is our lookout. There's Witness right over there. And then we had a date night. We came back. There is a very beautiful
Very
yacht club
fancy,
there
yes.
on Norman Key. And we went over despite a downpour that doused us on our way to dinner. It is date night. We are going over to McDuff's, which is the restaurant here. We are leaving the children alone at Anchor. This will post after the fact, so you can't come and steal them. They're awesome kids, and they've dealt with the anchor alarm. They've dealt with a lot of other things, like a shark while they were swimming the other night. So we are leaving them in a really good state to be able to handle this while we go enjoy a nice meal. And tomorrow's a big day for us. We are moving the boat a long journey over to Nassau. So we're going to celebrate and have a good night before we go. Cheers.
Cheers.
So we get asked frequently, how do you stay dry in the dinghy? And this is a nice high field with a dry ride, but the seas are pretty heavy tonight as we go to dinner. And so there's your answer. Beach towel covering a delightful dinner dress. And we're halfway there. So there's witness. We're halfway there. I gotta watch this. If we take a wave the wrong way, we got an unhappy wife. Cheers. We got picked up by a golf cart at the...
Yeah. And he watched the whole thing and he thought it was hilarious. But luckily by the dock where we put the dinghy, it was too high for me to get my well-dressed self up onto the dock, but it was also a boat ramp, and so I was wearing sandals and no hose because, well, who wears hose? But so I just hopped off in my dress and walked right up to that cart, and the storm was only 5 minutes and we were drenched. Yeah. Very nice restaurant.
Probably the fanciest dining experience we had in the Bahamas for sure.
Soaking wet, but
yeah.
still.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was so fun that after we had our meal that we just went to the bar because the wait staff was hilarious and just finished up with some drinks right there. And you're protected, but it's also open air and very cool.
Yeah. So from there we went back to the Nassau area. Well, not all days are winners. We had to pick the best of the least worst options, I guess, this morning. We are heading to Nassau. We're leaving Norman's Key here this morning. We're expecting about 2-foot waves, 2.3s. We just went through a rain shower. The boat is wet. It's humid, it's warm. We're about to turn to set our course to Nassau, where we've been before, so there's some comfort in kind of knowing the harbor there. But it's going to be a long day in about the most seas that we would want to go out in. And we expect the wind to clock around while we're out here. So it's winds out of the southwest, and then throughout the day it'll clock around to be out of the northwest. We want to beat that as much as possible so we don't have winds opposing the waves. Waves are out of the southwest. That should be following seas for us. And that should be, it's not the most comfortable ride, but it's not like we're dealing with right now, which is a little bit on the beam. Yeah. Which you can see, like right here, we're rolling. Kids are still asleep. It's about 7:30 in the morning. We wanted to get started at first light, but that's right when this rain shower...
A torrential downpour.
...hit us. So we enjoyed Norman's Key. The anchorage we were in was... Terrible, very rolly and exposed to the tides. So it shifted twice overnight. And
good morning, Shanty. We see you on our starboard side. Go ahead and pass. We'll wait for you to get by us before we make a turn.
So that just left us a little bit sleepless because then the tide was pushing us one way and the wind was on the beam, and so we were getting hit with that. So.
No, but we had a great time last night. We had a date at McDuff's restaurant, which was very fancy.
Yeah, very fancy. Really caters to the mega yacht clientele. So we felt very privileged to be there. Well, we are going to turn to head towards Nassau. Good morning.
Good morning.
So Nassau's kind of the clearinghouse for going north, south, east, or west. You're gonna go past New Providence Island and Nassau. And so we pulled back in there to an anchorage, which was at Rose Island. Rose Island's private. You can't really get on the island unless you come by tour boat, and they contract all that stuff. And so we...
But the reason they have tour boats go there is because the snorkeling is so amazing there, which is weird to think of it being such an amazing snorkeling spot near such a populated area. But the coral reefs there were really gorgeous, and we had drug plane number 4.
Yeah. Boat there.
Oh, drug boat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That barge had sunk, and that made for a kind of a, simulated new reef that was there. And then back into Nassau, because that's what you do, and to fill up on water, to pump out our tanks, to get situated for further up the to try to make our way back home. So we wanted to do...
And we met more friends that we hadn't met before that also had kids, so shout out to Crab Shack. So they had met with all of our mutual Looping Buddy friends, but we hadn't met yet. And so they came in just right after we did, and we just hit it off and then went back dining, and our kids are game buddies ever since.
Yeah. And then we wanted to go back to the Berries, back to Bimini was the plan, and then back to wherever that would put us on the coast of Florida. But again, wind and weather, so we buddy boated a little bit over to Chub Key
with Crab Shack
at the the south tip of the Berry Islands, and we anchored out in the harbor there because although very worth it and fancy, the
it's supposed
yacht
to be
club
very nice. They loved it.
Resort, but we just had a bit of a long day. It was not a very rough crossing, but a long day from Nassau to Chub, and we pulled in, dropped the hook. We took the dinghy and saw some turtles. We did some swimming under the boat. There were barracuda, which scared the kids out of the water after their nurse shark scare. Now their barracuda scare. Then that's, I think, the end of what the snorkeling they did in the Bahamas. But it was really cool. Crystal clear water again. A really amazing day. And then as we made our way back, it was from Chub to Freeport, which is kind of the north end of the Abacos. That was again a long crossing day, and that one was a bit rolly. We started to have some weather that was pushing big swells in. Nothing that we couldn't handle, certainly nothing the boat couldn't handle, but less comfortable, especially in the middle of the day. A little bit right as we left Chub, and then middle of the day was pretty rolly, and then we pulled into Freeport, again met up with Crab Shack, went out for a lovely dinner. We hit the pool there at the
right
resort
at the beach, and
it was a great stop, a lot of fun, but we were working our way through these weather swells and things to make our crossing, which
so we had
was
2 not so good weather days, which normally we wouldn't go, but there was like a 1-day window to cross from West End to West Palm Beach, and we needed to make that day, and so
we pushed on, and it was the roughest day we've had on the Great Loop.
Yeah, from Freeport to West End.
And we'll share an entire video on that. Even though it was a short day from Freeport to West End, it was the biggest waves we have experienced, and we are excited to share how we handled that as a family, and so we'll fill you in on that next time. But then from West End, we had a pretty uneventful crossing. It wasn't like when we crossed from Bimini, which was just absolutely
not as
smooth.
flat as that,
especially at the beginning, we had some rough waves.
But it was like a regatta. Since it was the only day for at least a week to cross, it was all the sailboats and all the motor yachts were just right at sunrise.
Yep, and so for sunrise, we hit the water and we started heading towards West Palm. Well, good morning from Witness. It's a big day. We are leaving the Bahamas this morning. We got a sunrise just behind us. We are leaving West End and heading for West Palm Beach, Florida. We have about an 8-hour day today, and at a little faster than our normal cruise. We have a buddy boat that is ahead of us. They may be going faster than we're going to be going today, so they may leave us in their dust. They like to, their boat handles better if they get up and go. and so they may not be our buddy for very long. But there's a big group of sailors that are out here sailing from the Bahamas to Florida this morning. We'll have lots of company on this crossing, westbound this morning. As yesterday, we expected 1.5 to 2 foot waves, and we got 6 to 8 with some bigger swells. And today we expect the same 1.5 to 2, but we're a little bit holding our breath until we get out here. We do have to cross the Gulf Stream this morning, or midday, I suppose, and so that is always a hurdle, and don't know the impact on our course. So we're hoping to end up at West Palm Beach, but honestly, anywhere along the coast of Florida would be our destination today. Kids are still asleep. We let them sleep in some mornings, and today is going to be a long day. We'll probably take some different shifts at the helm, and so they get the later shifts than the early morning. But so far, it looks as advertised out here, maybe 1.5 to 2 foot waves and calm winds. So here we go. Cheers.
Cheers.
Lake Worth Inlet, and cruised up Lake Worth, dropped anchor, exhausted, and happy to be back in the U.S.
I was happy to be back, but I had anticipated calm ICW after all the waves of the Bahamas, and boy was I wrong. Lake Worth was just a crazy amount of boats. We were welcomed to the east side of Florida with east side Florida boaters.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Thank you for joining us for our final update on our side trip from our Great Loop to the Bahamas. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about what we did or why, please hit us up in the comments. We answer every single one of those, and we really appreciate the feedback there. We'll see you next week with more of our adventures on the east coast of Florida. Cheers.
Cheers.